Hi everybody, Steph from Stellium Astrology here. I'm just doing a follow-on from last week's episode. This week I am going to be looking again at Billie Eilish and Jesse Rutherford, but I'm going to look at a different type of synastry chart. I'm going to go into the settings. So basically, let's have a quick look. So this is what we were looking at last week, which was the natal chart with his chart around the outside. And you can obviously, switch it around. So you can do it. So his chart's in the middle. You just do horoscope 4 and change it to Jesse, and then you switch it around. But we're going to go back to chart selection. Now, if you haven't seen last week's episode, definitely check it out. And if you haven't got an account with astro.com, definitely create one. I will link everything in the description. So here we are. So back into extended chart selection. You can select whoever you want to analyze, and I've got currently natal with partner outside, but let's have a look and see what else we've got here. So synastry chart with outer circle. I'm going to just click on synastry chart just to have a look and see what comes up. So let's go to show the chart. There we go. Another way of looking at it, which might be helpful, more helpful for some, is to see Billie Eilish in the center circle. The outer circle is Jesse Rutherford. So now we can see that his midheaven is on her sun. Now, so this is interesting when you look at it like this. When you see somebody's sun on your midheaven in your natal chart or in your synastry charts, it's a really clear indicator that the solar person, is going to highlight the area of the chart that they are in. So for Jesse Rutherford, Billie's sun is in his 10th house and it's on his midheaven. So for him, it's obviously making him raising his profile, and everybody's more aware of who he is. Like I said last time, I don't know who he is. I never did, but I may have heard his music. I don't know. I have to check it out. I've gone as far as to check how many people listen to him, but I haven't listened to any of his music yet. I'm sure I'll have recognized it. But if it weren't for Billie Eilish, I wouldn't know who Jesse Rutherford was. And I think that would be the case for a lot of people. So, just her sun on his midheaven, which his midheaven is the most exposed area of the chart. It's our reputation. It's how we're seen by the public. It's how we want to be seen. It's what we aspire to. It's the people we aspire to. It's our ambitions. Having your sun, having somebody else's sun highlight that area of your chart, something about them is usually what you aspire to in some way, or they show you something which adds to your arsenal of tools when it comes to reaching your career destination. So it could be that you work with somebody whose sun is on your midheaven, and through working with them, you define more about yourself and what you want from your career. Or it could be that you have a really good working relationship for some reason or another. If they view their relationship as a working relationship, kind of like a power couple, like maybe like the big celebrity couples who do a lot together. Maybe like I'm not looking at their charts together, but I did talk about Kim and Kanye West and stuff like that. But being seen as people who could be a brand as well as a relationship. I'm thinking of David Beckham and Victoria Beckham and people like that. A working relationship is implied as part of the relationship. Now, if that's the way that they see this relationship, maybe Billie and Jesse will be a new power couple, a new power relationship. But yeah, the midheaven, his midheaven there on her sun, he's probably going to maybe what he does in his career and some of the things he's achieved are things that Billie aspires to do, and maybe some of it's like a works both ways type of thing. But also it might be that there's a connection that is something that we can't see, that goes back to a parental feeling. The midheaven is often a parental indicator. It can be our relationship with an authority of some description, and it could well be the mother. It could be that Billie's mum is I know that she's got a close relationship with her mum, because her mum always goes to those Vanity Fair interviews. So it could be that her mum is, you know, an influential part of Billie's career trajectory currently. And it may be that also Jesse Rutherford has an understanding of her relationship with her mum, because he has a similar kind of relationship with his mum, for example. It could be that Billie's mum or dad, you know, is you know, around more, but there's kind of that connection. And these are the things with synastry that are interesting. Usually when we have planetary contact with somebody, it goes deeper than just, oh, this planet does this and that means you're going to have these experiences. I knew a guy that had his Mercury on my moon, and it was like we'd always been friends. Like we had a lot more synastry than that. His Mars was on my Venus as well, quite a few different things. And when we talked, it was like we had always been friends. It was like we'd lived the same past with the same types of people. And, you know, I still talk to him now. We worked together years ago, and it was just like an immediate connection. It's something you can't describe, because the astrology, you can look at the cookbook aspects and you can say, oh, Mercury to the moon. Oh, you know, maybe, you know, you've got like stories about your past, and you'll feel at home with this person. But what is it that makes you feel at home with somebody? It's the experiences that you've shared separately, but through Mercury moon conversation about the past, where you suddenly connect with somebody on a deeper level. My moon's in Scorpio, his Mercury is obviously in Scorpio. So it was a very deep and intense immediate connection. It was very brotherly and sisterly. It felt like we were brother and sister. I honestly felt like I had that kind of connection with him. And we had really similar tastes. So like the Mars-Venus conjunction, the similar tastes in music and comedy, and just in general, like our whole kind of cultural reference catalogue that we had in our minds. The conversations we had would always be like on point. We would just bounce off each other. And it's the type of thing that you can't always look at a chart and just know this from looking. You have to learn how to articulate it in a way that the person whose chart you're looking at will identify with that. So, you know, that said, that when I was looking at the sun on Billie's sun on Jesse Rutherford's midheaven, that's why I started to think about the family connection, because it can be like that. Maybe in some way, you know, Billie Eilish feels like she's achieved more because her son's there, and he wants to aspire to what she's achieving, and reaching out farther, and he potentially will, because they're together now. So there's that reach for him, but it goes so much deeper. But you can see the aspects on this wheel as well, and you can see actually that he's got planets. Oh, look, there you go. So he's got sun. What have we got down here? So yeah, he's got his sun in Leo, his Mercury, his Venus, at 29 Leo, his Jupiter at 25 Leo. So he's got a nice little Leo stellium here, which is opposite her Aquarius stellium. And then he's got that Capricorn stellium, and she's got the Sag stellium. So it's almost like their stelliums are kind of like just slightly off. It's, you know, they're just slightly off. They're not exactly, you know, if their charts, if you got the dials perfect, they could sit perfectly. So, you know, her Aquarius and his Leo stellium, that's quite nice, that little opposition. But you know, the ones, you know, the Capricorn and the Sag, it just sits slightly next door neighbours. And that's what me and my partner have actually. We have some Sag and Capricorn stuff. I've got 3 planets in Sag, and he's got I don't even know how many planets in Capricorn. And they are, we're so different. We're so different. You'd think, oh wow, that's really close together. It doesn't mean that it's going to be you know, they're going to have loads in common in that respect. There's other tells in the chart that would describe stuff in common. But what's interesting is that even though they're very similarly located, it's not a given that it's going to be like the same experiences. So yeah, just an interesting way to look at it. Let's go back into chart selection again, and let's have a look at so we've done natal with partner outside. I'm going to look at the composite chart with the midpoint method. So let's go in here and show the chart. Now you're going, oh, hang on, there's just one chart here. So the composite chart is where both charts are calculated, and the midpoint from each of their planets is the location of their combined planet. So Billie has her sun in Sagittarius, and I can't even remember Jesse's chart now. I've got it separate over here. Where are we? Oh, so he has sun in Leo. Okay, so he's got sun in Leo and moon in Capricorn, and Billie has got sun in Sag and moon in Aquarius, as we know. So let's have a quick look and see, where am I? There we are. So the midpoint for Leo, so his sun was around here somewhere, and her sun, I think his sun was at 25 Leo, I think. Where is it? 28 Leo, his sun, and her sun's at 26 Sag. So both in fire signs, which is nice. So the midpoint actually happens to fall at 27 of Libra. 27 Libra. So there we go. 27 Libra is kind of the central point for their suns. And then we have, you know, the central point for their Venus placement. So her Venus is in Sag and his is in Leo. Her Mercury's in Capricorn, his Mercury's in Leo also. So they've got Mercury at 1 Capricorn, Sun at 27 Libra, Venus at 25 Libra. And what else have we got? Their combined Pluto is at in Sagittarius, which I think Billie has natally. It's just moved back a little bit. Jesse's is at in Scorpio, the midpoints of Scorpio. In fact, what degree is it in Scorpio? Let's have a quick look at his chart. So his Pluto is in Scorpio at 17 degrees. Interesting for him that this current eclipse season, the recent eclipse, and I just so happen to have the ephemeris right in front of me. The most recent eclipse that we had in Scorpio was on, what month are we in? Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm in the wrong year. That's why I'm looking going, oh my goodness. So the recent eclipse, we had one at 2 Scorpio, which was on their Mercury. And we also have got another eclipse which occurred at 16 of Scorpio. So their combined Mercury is, let's have a look, their combined Mercury at 1 degree. And yes, so the eclipse at 2 Scorpio. Now, I don't know when they actually announced that they were a couple. Okay, so just quickly, I don't know. I'm just looking and I can't see when exactly they announced it, but it says here how infatuated she is with him. Billie gushes about her new boyfriend, Jesse Rutherford. Billie opens up about Jesse Rutherford. I'm really happy about it. Billie Eilish on how she locked down boyfriend Jesse Rutherford. One here. I managed to get my life to a point where not only was I known by a person I thought was the hottest effing F alive, but pulled his ass, she said candidly. So yeah, she's obviously like over the moon with him. And as far as when they got together, oh, it says here she's really inspired by him. So you might say that that's what in the combined chart, being inspired by somebody would be sun on the midheaven, because to aspire to be somebody or be like somebody, they have to inspire you in some way, I would say, personally. So maybe sun on the midheaven connection is an inspiration, but it looks as though we've had an eclipse on Mercury here, their combined Mercury, which might be about telling the story of how they met. I'm going to look at her Instagram page quickly. I'm not quite sure when it was announced that she had a boyfriend, but there's one picture of them together at an award ceremony. or something. They're wrapped up in a Gucci blanket, and it's got 7.4 million likes. And she's got the melting emoji, and that was on the 7th of November. So if we look at the so they announced it during eclipse season. 25th of October was when the eclipse was on their composite Mercury, and the total eclipse, which was at 16 Taurus, was on the 8th of November. So between those eclipses, which happened here and about there, somewhere about here, is where they kind of decided to go public. And also his Pluto is at 17 Scorpio, which the eclipse, the total eclipse that happened at 16 Taurus happened opposite. So it's interesting that the eclipses work on the composite chart as well as the personal chart, as you can see here. As you can see, they've still got the Moon, Uranus and Neptune combination going on here, slightly different order, and it straddles the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius for them both. And they still have a Pisces ascendant because they both have Pisces rising in their charts as well. So quite interesting to look at. Also really interesting to look at with transits, which you can also do. So if you click the with transits button, you can see where planets are currently moving through. And you know, you can see, often you can see that planets will trigger the composite chart, and it's about how your relationship is seen by others. It's about how you're sort of received by the outside world, outside of yourself, how you're seen as a couple. Basically, they've got a massive T-square, which is with the Moon, Neptune and Uranus opposing, so they're composite, opposing Jupiter, so from Aquarius / Capricorn to Leo, and then it's apexing at their Sun and Venus and Mercury. So that's a huge T-square, which kind of apexes. It's almost like it describes being you know, like the glamour. I always think of paparazzi when I see Neptune and that Moon Uranus, like they're just going to be like this iconic alternative couple opposite Jupiter in Leo, which is just like that kind of it's really hard for me to put into words, but essentially like that stage command, the command of the stage, the command of the spotlight. You know, it's almost like this is a relationship that could court the spotlight quite easily, and perhaps maybe getting into quite a lot of you know, naughty behavior with that Jupiter in the 5th house. It could well describe a lot of partying and a lot of fun and hanging around with a lot of quirky, unique hipster types. And yeah, this 8th house sun, actually, you know, this could be a relationship which drives them both into knowing themselves on a level they've not quite explored through their other relationships or just through their normal life. This is a very psychological placement for the sun. But also, again, you know, this is a unique chart because it's people who don't live very normal lives as far as the rest of us are concerned. So they're going to do very extraordinary things. So I'd say an 8th house sun in a composite chart of people of such status is not going to be something that we can probably imagine. All we can say is that it's likely there's going to be a lot of temptation for them. These two are probably people that are, you know, not short of people wanting to go on dates with them, and other temptations as well, I would say, is potential here. And yeah, they've also got this lovely grand kite formation as well, this kite, which is a fiery kite, a nice fiery kite with that. Let's see, it's so we've got the grand trine in the fire signs with Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto, so the social planets, and then we have the top bit of the kite, or the kind of the archer's bow being pulled back from Leo to Aquarius and Capricorn. So it's quite like a nice fortunate aspect pattern here, and I'd say that this T-square is quite possibly the reason why they're in a relationship, because it would be really hard to ignore that kind of tension, actually. So that's a really interesting one. Also, maybe potentially on the Jupiter opposite the Aquarius stuff here and the Capricorn, so the Neptune, Uranus and Moon opposite Jupiter. This could be that one side of them represents the one side of the opposition, and so it could be that Jessie represents the Jupiter and Billie represents the Aquarius / Capricorn stellium there. So so that's quite an interesting one to explore. I think I'm going to record another chart, another interpretation now, for another episode, because there's just so much to say about each of the Synastry charts. But I hope you're finding it interesting, and I will be pulling names out of a hat and recording a separate episode. You can still sign up, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, just hit the subscribe, and email me, stephanie@stelliumastrology.com, with a screenshot of yourself doing it. And don't forget to email me your YouTube handle, just so that if you have got a private YouTube channel, I can include you in the draw. But essentially what I want to do is to I'm going to pull the names out on a separate episode, and then from there on in I'm going to announce our new prize for next year. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care. I hope you're enjoying the festive season, and next week's episode is going to be another interesting deep dive into Synastry. Take care.